Bram versus United States was decided in 1897, and it has to do with the application of the Exclusionary Rule and the Fifth Amendment to confessions that are given. So the facts of the case are this. Bram was accused of murder on the high seas. He was accused of murdering the captain's wife, and the second officer with an axe. They locked Bram up in irons, and they turned the ship around and landed in Halifax, Nova Scotia, where he was interrogated by a detective who took him into his private room, made him take his clothes off, and then started questioning him about the murder. Bram never admitted to anything, but they did use the statements he did make at trial, and he was ultimately convicted. He appealed his conviction to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court looked at the Fifth Amendment and, using the concept known as the Exclusionary Rule, decided that this confession that Bram made was not free and it was not voluntary. That's the standard for a confession in order to be constitutional and to survive scrutiny under the Fifth Amendment, is that it has to be freely made and it has to be voluntary. It can't be induced by promises, and there can't be any threats. So the U.S. Supreme Court said in this case, his confession, given the facts, was not free and was not voluntary. Now, what's interesting about this case is that the Fifth Amendment at that point only applied at the federal level. It didn't apply to the states until 1964, Malloy versus Hogan. I've got a video on that. But until Malloy versus Hogan in 1964, the Fifth Amendment protection against providing testimony against yourself did not apply to the states. And so the states were free to call you and put you on trial, put you on the witness stand, and try and extract a confession out of you there. And you couldn't say, I plead the Fifth, until Malloy versus Hogan in 1964.